2025 is going to be a big year for mountain bikes. We look ahead to the most exciting new developments. Probably the coolest new bike you'll see in 2025 is the Atherton S150. More like a sculpture than a bike, this frame is bonded together with high-end alloy tubes that slot into perfectly machined lugs. What's really cool though is Atherton has taken all its carbon know-how and 3D printing experience and applied it here to aluminium. It means this bike can be mass produced for less money, and you might actually get to buy it and ride it in 2025 rather than just read about it. Although at 4,500 quid for the entry-level bike, it's not what I'd call cheap. Despite rocking just 150mm, it's passed the toughest Cat 5 testing. This is a bike for people that ride hard then. People like Dan, G and Rachel, who've been demoing this thing throughout the design phase, and that's probably all the strength testing you really need. Not all bikes coming out in 2025 will cost an arm and a leg. In fact, the 3 bikes I'm most excited about cost less than £2,000. I have waited 4 years to say this, but at last the Calibre Bossnut is back. It's a bike that shook up the industry when it launched and starred in some of our best entry-level bike tests. Now, the latest Mark IV version gets properly low and aggressive geometry, 29-inch wheels and 135mm of RockShox suspension. That is not bad for 1,500 quid. If your aim is to cover ground quickly, Boardman has just released its new MTR 8.9. Think of it as a downcountry bike without the usual sky-high price tag. The MTR is light enough for single-track riding at 15 kilos, and the latest RockShox silo fork on the front is perfect for soaking up bigger hits. Then there's the Voodoo Canzo from Halfords. It's for riders who want speed and confidence, and it comes with a super smooth coil-sprung fork, and you even get a dropper post. So 3 new bikes have completely rejuvenated the sub £2,000 price point, and they all have slightly different intentions. One of my favourite bikes for next year is the Santa Cruz Hightower, and that's because it seems to blur the lines between a fun trail bike for mellow stuff and an enduro race bike for trips to the Alps. With only 145mm travel, that is a tough act. But the suspension has been tweaked. It's now a whole lot plusher, and that adds grip for big mountain days. However, it still seems to have enough pop to keep it playful and fun when you're not pointing it between the race tape. I really like it. I've ridden it back home in Surrey and away on some of the Stone King rally tracks, and while no bike can truly do it all, this is about as close as it gets. In perhaps the most surprising move of 2025, pure e-bike only brand Forestal has made 2 new pedal-powered machines called the Cygnus and Siryon. The Siryon actually used to be an e-bike. We tested it, we loved its suspension performance and lightweight design back in 2022, but not its woefully short range. This new version does away with the motor and battery altogether, which is one way to silence the critics, I guess. It keeps the unique Forestal frame shape and twin levity suspension design though, and it generates 170mm travel for big trail duties or enduro racing, and it rolls on 29-inch wheels. The Cygnus, meanwhile, is much more racy. It's built with 120mm travel, and there are 2 versions going on sale. One comes with a lightweight XC build, including SID forks and a one-piece bar and stem, and one comes with a longer Fox 34 fork and grippier tyres. Cube has made some impressive advances with carbon this year, and the new short travel 122 is the beneficiary of all that new know-how. Its frame is made from something called C62 carbon fibre, which uses less of the heavy resin and more of the actual carbon. That means it can be the same strength for lighter. The upshot is a dramatically lighter frame to hang the components off, and a complete bike weighing in at just 11.8 kilos. That is not bad for a 120mm bike with a Fox 34 on the front. The mod cons don't stop there either. Cube's made the bike longer and slacker for better composure on the downhills. The seat tube is shorter too, meaning smaller riders could choose a bigger bike for stability, for example, and still be able to swing a leg over it. Downhill bikes are at the cutting edge of mountain bike tech, and the Pivot Phoenix is no exception. It is a ruthless exercise in pure speed, where weight, convention, looks, and almost everything else go out the window. At its heart is a high pivot suspension design dishing out a huge 210mm of travel. But instead of wrapping the chain up and over an idler, there are two chains, one to drive the rear wheel and the other taking leg power from the cranks to that main chain. Still with me? The suspension design is just as complicated. The DW6 design adds an extra 2 pivots to a conventional 4-bar system, with one a flex stay pivot to save weight. A flex stay on a downhill bike. Will it be the bike to take Bernard Kerr to his first ever World Cup win this season? It is the bike to do it on. Rumour has it Forbidden is working on 2 new e-bikes, powered by DJI's super powerful Avinox motor. If that's true, it would make it the first brand to fit the hottest motor of 2024. More concrete though is version 2 of Forbidden's Dreadnought. We had 2 days riding this thing, and it is hands down a better enduro race bike than the original. The big change is Forbidden has gone wild with the chainstays, which are now 460mm long, or about the length of 3 football pitches. You know what though? It works. You get a high front end for steep terrain and a great forward weight bias for cornering grip. They've played around with the suspension too. It's softer off the top, but the mid-stroke is now supportive enough to be more playful and dynamic. Who wants a mountain bike with a kickstand? Not me. At least until Merida launched its latest and greatest Big Trail. A hardtail with proper enduro geometry, and some pretty curious design choices too. For the record, it is easily the best hardtail I've ridden for 2025. It's fun, it's confident, and yet somehow comfy and forgiving at the same time, something I can't get my head around on a hardtail. So although Nuke-Proof and Ragley sadly won't be making any more killer hardtails, I am still confident for the future, with Merida filling the gap and building bikes like this. It is whisper quiet, it made me hit drops I'm usually only happy on with an enduro bike, and you can even fit a pannier rack. Geometron has a radical new gearbox bike called the G1 GPI. It's based on the brand's G1 enduro bike, but the old derailleur drivetrain is out and Pinion's latest SmartShift gearbox is in. The chain's gone too, ditched in favour of a Gates carbon drive belt. That means you'll get the full 600% range of a Meg, but with practically no maintenance. There's no trimming, there's no cleaning, there's no bashing it off on a stump. You can shift while you're pedalling too now, which was one of the main flaws with the original Pinion gearbox. And Geometron says that lops 1.5 kilos off the weight of the rear wheel too, which is ideal for quicker reacting suspension. It is just the kind of thing we expect from a brand as revolutionary as Geometron. So, which is your favourite new bike of 2025? And what have we missed? Tell me in the comments below.